APEC venue expects the summit to bring a major boost in tourism. U.S. and Japan leaders lavish praise on each other. And U.S. government shutdown said to affect millions who use food assistance. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Nominations for the Legislative Council election are now open. Chief Executive John Lee says the government will work to prevent and crack down on attempts to interfere with or sabotage the polls. The city leader has also sent a letter to all civil servants, reminding them to fulfill their civic duties and setting an example by casting their ballots. Speaking to reporters ahead of the Executive Council meeting, Chief Executive John Lee says there were signs that some anti-China forces and external elements are spreading rumors by arguing that normal personnel changes in LegCo are due to restrictions or requirement of blessings from authorities. Lee said these rumors are aiming to discredit the new electoral system and destabilize Hong Kong. He stresses authorities would take legal actions against any unlawful acts.
It affects everybody, and it is a civil responsibility for voters to vote. It is also a civic responsibility for everybody to promote election so that such a significant event will take its course smoothly and attracts the most attention and support from everybody.
At a separate event, Secretary for Security Chris Tang stresses no criminals will be allowed to disrupt the LegCo elections and law enforcement agencies will enforce the law decisively. Tang says it is illegal to persuade others not to vote or cast a blank vote. Also unlawful is colluding with foreign forces to manipulate or influence the election, he notes. Lo Man-tun, former vice chairman of All China Federation of Returned Overseas Chinese, wrote on the newspaper, noting how Macau's legislative elections last month saw a voter turnout of 53%, and Hong Kong officials have visited the enclave to learn from its experience. On that, Chief Executive John Lee says Hong Kong should boost public interest in the election's importance while urging civil servants to cast a ballot to set a good example. The CE says on polling day on December 7th, special arrangements will be made to facilitate civil servants who are on duty to vote. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC Leaders Summit, will open in South Korea on Friday. But it is possible there will be a meeting between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday. South Korean media reports suggest that a building at Busan's Gimhae International Airport may be the meeting venue. The APEC summit will be held in Gyeongju in South Korea. China previously announced that Xi Jinping will attend the event. The world attention is very much on a possible meeting between the Chinese and U.S. presidents. South Korean media reports that the likely meeting facility at Busan's Gimhae International Airport was built by the South Korean Air Force during the 2005 APEC summit in Busan to accommodate foreign leaders. As this year's APEC summit is set to kick off in South Korea's Gyeongju city soon, some academics believe various participating economies will reach a consensus on the fields of the service industry and trade. This as the southern Korean city expects the summit to bring about a major boost in tourism. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Located in the far southeastern part of South Korea, visitors can travel to Gyeongju from Seoul in just 2 hours via high-speed rail. This millennium-old capital of the ancient kingdom of Silla was once a cultural and economic center of the Korean peninsula. To this day, the city retains a vibrant historical atmosphere and features some of the finest remnants of Buddhist architecture built during the golden age of the religion in the country. With some 21 economic bodies set to be assembled in the upcoming summit, Gyeongju's municipal authorities said they are ready to welcome all visiting parties. A promotional ambassador of the city said many locals believe this year's APEC summit will help to boost Gyeongju's development, adding that many residents doubled their efforts over the past year to clean up and beautify the city. Several restaurants in Gyeongju have also started providing menus in both Chinese and English as part of the region's drive to internationalize. The owner of this Korean restaurant said foreign patrons have tripled over recent days, emphasizing that she has been using AI for translation assistance and began polishing up her English. With sustainability being the theme of this year's summit, some academics believe many of the participating economies will use the opportunity to seek cooperation amid the trade war triggered by Washington. Wang Yiwei, a Renmin University of China academic specializing in geopolitics, stressed the Asia-Pacific region could set up new roles to nurture the regional economy unhindered by the actions of the World Trade Organization and Europe. He added that discussions during the summit could also involve new changes to global trade in the AI era. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump lavished praise on Japan's first female leader, Sanae Takaichi, in Tokyo today, welcoming her pledge to accelerate a military buildup and signing deals on trade and rare earths. Takaichi, a protege of Trump's late friend and golfing buddy Shinzo Abe, applauded Trump's push to resolve global conflicts, vowing to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump's visit comes after months of uncertainty over the U.S. president's aggressive tariff policies. Nasi Karim with more.
Amid an atmosphere of uncertainty, Japan rolled out the red carpet for U.S. President Donald Trump. Japan's newly minted Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi impressing Trump with a firm handshake. The two leaders inspecting an honor guard before sitting down for talks, both gushing about the other and sharing their mutual respect for the late Shinzo Abe, the former Japanese leader she looks up to as a role model.
As you know, Shinzo Abe was a great friend of mine, but he spoke so well of you, even before we knew what was going to happen and your ascension. He spoke so well of you long before we met. I have always had a great love of Japan and a great respect of Japan. And I will say that this will be a relationship that will be stronger than ever before. And I look forward to working with you. And on behalf of our country, I want to just let you know, anytime you have any question, any doubt, anything you want, any favors you need, anything I can do to help Japan, we will be there.
Takaichi praised Trump's dynamic diplomatic style, similar, she says, to that of Abe, and his role in the Thai-Cambodia peace deal and the Israel-Gaza ceasefire. She reportedly said she would nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Apart from the pleasantries, the two leaders also got down to business. At a ceremony in Akasaka Palace, they signed documents outlining frameworks for trade deals that have been the source of tension between the two nations. Both leaders signed the implementation of an agreement for the golden age of their nation's alliance. The document they held up was less than one page, reaffirming an earlier framework by which the U.S. would tax goods imported from Japan at 15% and the creation of a $550 billion fund for Japan to invest in the U.S. A second document was signed laying out a framework for securing the supply of critical minerals and rare earths. Takaichi, who became the country's first female prime minister only days ago, must solidify her relationship with Trump while defending her country's economic interests. Trump is scheduled to leave on Wednesday for South Korea, which is hosting the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, and where on Thursday he is expected to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
In the United States, federal funds that help tens of millions of Americans to buy food for their families and send their toddlers to preschool could begin to run dry by Saturday. Funding for another program that helps mothers care for their newborns could run out the following week. This if Congress does not reach a deal soon to end the U.S. government shutdown. Tracy Furness reports.
The countdown is on to figure out how to keep food on the table for nearly 42 million Americans who receive SNAP, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says that the debt cards that beneficiaries use to buy food won't be replenished in November due to the government shutdown.
This is significant news for about 42 million Americans, about 1 in 8 people in the U.S. They rely on the program to buy groceries. The announcement has left food pantries and food banks scrambling, as well as individuals, several of whom have told the Associated Press that if they don't have the aid, they're going to have to choose between groceries and other bills.
The World Central Kitchen began distributing food to furloughed federal workers in Washington, D.C. this week, as the U.S. enters its 4th week of a government shutdown with no end in sight.
You know, our mission is very simple. We feed people, and we show up in places around the world, across the country as well, where there's a need. We have teams out in Gaza and Ukraine, but we've also had teams out in Texas after the floods, in parts of the South after hurricanes. And so this is just another way of us giving back to the community and feeding people during times of need.
Federal workers thankful for extra cushion during this time.
It's a little challenging to be a federal employee right now, not knowing when we'll head back to work. I'm thankful for the work that World Central Kitchen's doing, just to give us a little extra cushion for the furlough.
It's starting to get real. You know, we just missed the paycheck, so definitely moving money around, playing money games, and you know, you can't sustain this for much longer. I mean, at some point, you're just going to dry out your savings and all that. And you know, when you have kids and daycare and mortgages and all that, you know, banks aren't waiting around for you to get paid. They're essentially, I mean, my bank told me they're going to put us in forbearance when we miss our first payments.
The Trump administration has rejected the idea of using some $5 billion in contingency money to keep providing the federal cash for food, saying that reserve is limited to expenses such as help after disasters. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, Jamaica faces the strongest 2025 tropical cyclone. And workers cleaning up Diamond Hill area to stop mosquitoes from spreading viruses. Welcome back. China and the ASEAN bloc of Southeast Asian nations have signed an upgrade to their free trade agreement, with leaders hailing a deal that spans the digital and green economy and other new industries. The 11-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations is China's largest trading partner, with bilateral trade totaling $771 billion last year. The so-called 3.0 version of the free trade agreement between ASEAN and China was signed into effect in Kuala Lumpur at a summit of the bloc's leaders. China is seeking to intensify its engagement with ASEAN, a region with a collective gross domestic product of $3.8 trillion, to counter hefty import tariffs imposed by the U.S. Premier Li Qiang said China and ASEAN must accelerate trade and investment liberalization and strengthen industrial integration and interdependence. Hurricane Melissa is set to pummel Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 storm, the strongest to lash the island since record-keeping began 174 years ago. Expected to make landfall early Tuesday, the government said it had done all it could to prepare for the storm, warning of serious damage. Tracy Furness has more.
The calm before the storm in Kingston, Jamaica, the hurricane just south of the island nation.
It is not a joke. It is very serious, guys. And it is going to be something different. The figures we think will be astronomical. Yeah, they will be hard to digest when this is over.
The wind soon picks up as the rain starts lashing down. People prepare food in a shelter for those who had to evacuate their homes. Landslides, fallen trees and numerous power outages were reported even before the storm hits, with Jamaican authorities warning the cleanup and damage assessment would be slow. Hurricane Melissa is expected to make landfall early Tuesday and slice diagonally across the island, entering near St. Elizabeth Parish in the south and exiting around St. Anne Parish in the north, forecasters say, adding it will be slow-moving. The U.S. Defense Department released dramatic footage of views inside Hurricane Melissa. The military said a U.S. Air Force Reserve crew from the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, known as the Hurricane Hunters, flew multiple passes through Melissa on Monday to collect critical weather data for the National Hurricane Center. Melissa is expected to reach Cuba Tuesday night and head across the southeastern Bahamas on Wednesday. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A female worker in a Diamond Hill school has been confirmed as having come down with chikungunya virus. The Center for Health Protection is investigating whether it is linked to the first locally originated case reported earlier in the same district.
The
The female patient works at Renish Church Grade School at Fongtek Estate in Diamond Hill, where Food and Environmental Hygiene Department workers could be seen spraying mosquito control chemicals nearby. Posters have been put up reminding the public to step up efforts to prevent the spreading of the mosquito-borne diseases. School officials say a crisis response mechanism has been activated, including daily temperature checks, suspension of outdoor activities, and advice for students to wear long-sleeve clothes, apply insect repellent, and use anti-mosquito patches. The school is located only about 5 minutes walk from Poland Cook Camping Kindergarten that the 82-year-old woman from the first locally originated case often visited to pick up her grandchild. The two sites are separated by a park, sports ground, and a residential block. This local resident says he can't say he is not worried and he will avoid going to places with lots of bushes or grass. Another resident knows the neighborhood has a lot of mosquitoes. Chief Executive John Lee says while chikungunya fever is mosquito-borne and is not transmitted person to person, the public is urged to reduce the risk of being bitten. He says the Center for Health Protection and district care teams have been reaching out to residents with questionnaires, health screenings, and educational sessions. One of the government's priorities is to continue developing Hong Kong's innovation and technology industries, and the Lok Ma Chau Loop is one of the most significant areas of development. Sun Dong, the Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry, said on TVB's Straight Talk program that progress in important areas such as the cross-border personal and capital flow are being made, and some good news will be announced soon.
Actually, we have proactively working with mainland authorities and the Shenzhen municipal government to explore the efficient cross-boundary flow of INT elements, including, as you said, personal, capital, data, materials, particularly some biosamples. I can tell you we have made a very, very good progress so far. And we almost achieved final agreement for the data and some biosample. So now we are discussing the cross-boundary flow of other elements such as personal. We will make a bridge to connect the two parks, one the Shenzhen Park, another the Hong Kong Park. Meanwhile, we are exploring some efficient policy for cross-boundary flow of the capital, such as some mainland companies can bring more money to run their business, including construction of the buildings in the heart of Hong Kong Park. I believe we will announce some good news in the future.
And that's the news for tonight. Thank you for watching.